Well, everybody, hopefully you had a good weekend and you're starting to see the turnaround to spring, because we're starting to see it here. We're going to have 60s today, so we are happy campers this early in March. So we're going to start today's call with a guy who I've worked with closely for the last, I think, 6 months, and he is the perfect person I like to work with, because when I ask him to do something, he doesn't complain, he doesn't say that's hard. He just goes ahead and does it. And even when he's not ready to do something, he does it, and he's really starting to see it bear fruit. So, Jeff, could you kind of let people know some of the experiences you've had and what your viewpoint is on the system and all that?
Yeah, I started just I looked at all the material, and I was completely overwhelmed. And the more I got into the website, I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to get all this together and put all this together. And so once I started hearing about, from Mike and from other people more about some of the success stories and some of the success you can get from it, I thought, I've got to roll this out, and I've got to try it. So I started learning through Jerry Maniak. I started learning he's like, yeah, just learn the yellow pad presentation. And I did. And one of the ways that I did it is I took it like a little handheld tape recorder, and I taped it off of the website so I could have it while I'm stuck in traffic in the car. And what it did was it made me understand the rhythm behind motivational interviewing, the give and take behind motivational interviewing, because Kasselneck and Freeberg back and forth, Freeberg's not going to challenge, but other regular folks will. But once I kind of learned the rhythm of it, of the motivational interviewing, and then it made the 21 seem a little bit more digestible, a little bit more easier to kind of, figure out, or not just have to memorize everything, but because every conversation you have with a client isn't going to be Jeff Freeberg sitting across from the table saying, yeah, okay, sure, and doing everything he's supposed to say. So the motivational interviewing and just listening to that during downtime instead of, looking at, sports and stuff on the computer. Instead, I'm like listening to that stuff. So if I have downtime, I'm stuck in traffic or anything like that, so that's how I really got my head around it. And then I started getting into more of the 21 and the titling and the beneficiary part of it that you have to know, the power of attorney stuff. You have to know that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so your first couple of times attempts, what happened?
Oh, they were miserable. And I did something wrong, or I did one thing before the other, and I wasn't proficient with the 21, and I'm still not now. And it's a work in progress every day. And so I tried it on some folks. I tried it on a couple of clients. I tried on a couple of clients, and I got some good business out of it. And then I tried it on a couple of new people, a couple of prospects, and I closed 2 of them in December, but it took me like 7 meetings because I wasn't proficient with the 21, and one of the meetings was like 2 hours long because I kept kind of missing oh yeah, that's right, I got to do this now, and that's right, I got to do this now, just because I wasn't good with it. I wasn't proficient with it. But you learn by doing, and I eventually got one of them was 569,000, and the other one was 414,000. But it took me like 6 appointments.
But you're awesome at getting on their side. So the way you kept those gals in the whole process was constantly getting on their side. So they didn't exit the process because you weren't driving them away. You were bringing them in. So how did you learn the GOTS?
I learned the GOTS part of it from a lot of the conference calls, and you learn how to do that. It takes work a little bit to try to get the idea when you can throw it in, I guess. And then I started using it on my wife. And if my wife was angry at me for something that I felt as though she shouldn't be angry about, I would roll out the GOTS, and it would kill an argument in a minute. Same things with the kids. With kids, children, anybody who's a disagreeable person that you run up to, you throw out a GOTS, and it's almost like they didn't even know what happened to them. They're just like, oh, okay. It's like he just popped a little mint of sunshine into their mouth.
And maybe it's somebody else I'm thinking of, but was it you that dealt with your teenage son, and afterwards your wife looked at you and said, how the heck did you do that? Was that you, or was that somebody else?
Nah, somebody else. I do use it on my wife because she has a hair trigger temper, so I do use it on her frequently. And she's an attorney, so you think that she'd let onto it or something somehow, but she hasn't yet. And I'll thank you not to tell any, let her know about that because I'm getting
And
mileage
then
out
how
of it.
about
The gods, I'm getting lots of mileage out of it.
and then now that you've learned it a little bit, though, share the story that you just did here in the past month or so.
Okay, so I have a client who had a mild heart attack back summer of 15, so this past summer. And she had done some, she was going to do some trust work. I sent her over to an estate planning attorney who's I'm friendly with, and then we got the son involved, and who is a terrific guy, smart, commercial pilot, and he wanted nothing to do with the life insurance policy. He just thought that was not something she should do, and I had a phone call with him where we went into it, and I got him a bunch of times, and we got into it, and he eventually kind of made a decision that he thought he liked it. And then we started talking about some of his investments, as of course, we're wont to do in this business. And he, just said about how he's saving in his 401k and all that. And I said, you know what a lot of guys do, John, is they also do this. If you want your money to, and I started rolling out the idea about using a Minnesota Life or Allianz, one of those products that allows that a lot of the fees are stripped out of life insurance policy, and it almost works like kind of like a savings thing almost. And we got into that, and he said he really loved it. I sent him a proposal. He said he's got a friend who wants to get in on it too. So not only did I close the mom, and we're transferring money this week, as a matter of fact, into the mom's, win-win-win. But we also have these two other guys who are probably going to do two other additional life insurance policies. So
now I don't know if you
mushroom.
guys heard what you said when you were talking there, that this guy did not like life insurance. He thought it was a silly thing for her to be doing. And you said you did what a whole bunch of times on the phone with him?
I gotched him a lot. I gave him some steady diet of GOTS every time because he's a saver and he understands money to a degree. But the trust, he was, with the difference between the life insurance and the trust, I mean, I said, look, life insurance is going to, the win-win-win basically doubles the principal and you're going to get it tax-free. The trust is going to be whatever's in there. And, there you are. He started liking the mechanics of it.
Your ability, I mean, you're learning the scripts, but when you came on, the thing that you immediately glommed onto is framing questions and getting on their side. And that getting on their side is what's really given you that, it's working immediately for you. It's not like there's a long curve, even though you don't know the scripts as well as you're going to know them down the road. It's the GOTS that you're able to use right away. And I mean, have you seen conversations, your conversations with people? Well, you even mentioned it with your wife, even that you can control a conversation when you're good at GOTS.
When you're good at GOTS, it's so disarming, and they don't even know what to do. It's like the look on her face. She's like, "Well, yeah, of course I'm good at that," and it's, it's an ego stroke for a lot of folks, and if it's done the right way, and you've got to make it sincere, and if you're not sincere about it, and some of us who, if you do GOTS a lot or you do GOTS in uncomfortable situations, it's awfully hard to overcome your internal emotions and about how irritated you may be about something. So you've got to have, what's the one thing you can control? Yourself, right? So you've got to be able to, control that part of yourself and within yourself and roll out a GOTS. I mean, do you want to win the argument or do you want to get your way or not? So swallow your ego.
Do you want to win the argument or get your way? That's right. Do you want to win the argument or get your way? That's right. So you're going to lose the argument.
What's going to make you happy?
Get your way. Yeah.
What's going to make you happy? Getting the business, winning the argument, getting your way. Well, swallow your ego and your anger and your pride and what have you, and that's go buy a punching bag and put it in the basement.
That's right. That's right. So what would you tell somebody that it's hard, or that I'm just not comfortable, or that doing that, or that I don't think it's sincere? What would you, what all these different excuses guys have for not doing GOTS? What would you tell those guys?
If they say it's hard, it is, and it can be. Sometimes it's easy, but if you feel as though it's not sincere, you've lived your life on the straight and narrow, and you need to continue to do that, God-fearing, whatever. All right, so you need to, if you're sincere about it, then it should be easier for you, because then you can give somebody a quote sincere, I'm doing quotation fingers in the air, that's a quote sincere compliment. You want to be sincere. Find something about this person that you think is what they've done, what they, whatever. That's a lovely wicker pig centerpiece you've got there. It's amazing how you can do that. 9 out of 10 people who try to do macaroni sculpture are completely clueless, and you have seemed to nailed it with this one piece. I'm very impressed by that.
That's right, because even if you're on the straight and narrow and you think, oh, this is, if you cannot find something that you can sincerely compliment somebody else on, then you are not trying very hard. Because even the worst person in the world has some positive characteristic that you could compliment them on.
Sure.
So I just want to thank you very much, Jeff, for being on today and sharing that. Because I mean, you're one of my favorite guys to work with, just simply because
you're godsing me right now. And Mike, you're a wonderful coach. All the coaches that I've ever met have never done quite the job that you do. You're very compelling, and your ideas are wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you very much, and I'm sure the guys really appreciate hearing your success. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
You bet, buddy.
Have a good one.
You too.
Let's hear some support. Do you like what Jeff had to say today? Do you like the points he was making? Good. We're getting a lot of yeses. Good. So, want to talk a little bit about what we talked about last week, because Jeff and I both got some feedback, and I think there's some misunderstandings here of what we were saying last week, and so I apologize for any notice I'm falling on the sword about what we said last week with the outside the box. Guys, will the outside the box only get people with money at the event? So it's only going to get people with money at the event. Is that what we're saying? No, we're saying it's going to get who? Is it gonna not get do-it-yourselfers? No, it's going to get do-it-yourselfers. It's going to get people with no money, and it's also going to get people with money that have advisors, the perfect client. Do you get that? So we're not saying people with no money aren't going to show up. We're not saying do-it-yourselfers aren't going to show up. We're going to say they're going to come, but you're also going to get people with money with clients. Now, if you only get 30% of them, if only you get 30% appointments, who's going to make those appointments? Who's going to make those appointments? The people with no money or the do-it-yourselfers. People with no money or the do-it-yourselfers. That's who's going to make the appointments. In order, the last person to make the appointment is going to be the perfect client. So you need to get everybody to make appointments, because it's that last half of the appointments that are going to be people that you want. People with money, people that have advisors. Does that make sense? Now again, both Jeff and I heard from guys that, well, you just don't understand. You don't understand, these people don't have money. Guys, we talked about this last week, so I'm going to be very clear so everybody can understand now. Let's talk about the power of attorney. Power of attorney is a major part of the event. It's a major appointment getter. Who will make appointments with us if we do the power of attorney correctly? Will people who are poor, or who's going to be affected worse by the power of attorney not working? Somebody with money or poor people? The poorest, Kevin, you're right. The poorest. Now, see, I'm getting a lot of people who don't get it. A lot of people are saying people with money. No. Think about it. Think about it, guys. If your power of attorney isn't working with Social Security or Medicare, who's going to be hurt the worst? If your power of attorney is not working with Social Security or Medicare, who's going to get hurt the worst? The people with no money. Why? Because they have no money to fall back on. If I got money and Medicare is not paying, do I have money that I can pay my own bills until I get it fixed out? If the Social Security check gets mixed up and I'm losing half of the Social Security income, do I have money that I can fall back on until it gets straightened out? But do poor people have that? Do poor people have that? No. So let me ask you a question. If you don't get 100% of appointments and you tell me it's because people didn't have money, for what? If you don't get 100% appointments and you're going to tell Jeff or you're going to tell me The reason you didn't get appointments is because the people didn't have money. You're full of what? Beans, exactly. You're full of beans. Because if you did what you're supposed to do at the event, will poor people make appointments with you to get the power of attorney straightened out? And I want everybody to answer on this. John, why are you saying no? So I've got one no. Everybody's saying yes, I got one no. John, why are you saying if you do what you're supposed to be doing, that poor people won't make an appointment with you to get your power of attorney fixed? Why are you saying that, John? Everybody else is saying yes. No, let me be clear again. Guys, if you do the power of attorney correctly at the event, will poor people be scared, pantsless, and want to get their power of attorney, either get one done or get it fixed if they have one? Yes. Will people with money want to get their power of attorney, or if they don't have one, get one? Or if they have one, get it fixed? Yes. So the only reason people aren't making appointments, 100% of people with no money, do-it-yourselfers, and people with money. People with no money, do-it-yourselfers, and people with money. The only reason they're not making appointments is because what? So Jeff, can you hop in here?
Yep, I'm here.
So if the people with money, the do-it-yourselfers, and people with no money, if they don't all make appointments, what's happening?
You're not asking why action questions. You're not getting people personally involved. You're not getting them to explain it all back to you. I mean, like Mike said, if your power of attorney doesn't work for Social Security and Medicare, the people that are going to be the most affected are the people who rely on Medicare and Social Security. Those are people with or without money. Without. So they should want appointments just as much as anybody. And if they don't, it's kind of like a canary in the coal mine. It isn't that you wanted appointments with those people anyway. I get it when you tell me there wasn't anything I could do anyway. But that's the canary in the coal mine that tells me people are sniffing you out. You're doing something in that presentation that they realize they don't want an appointment. And if they sniffed it out, guess who else sniffed it out?
Everybody else. Sniffer? Poor people or people with money?
Exactly. So the fact that people with no money don't want appointments is that canary in the coal mine telling you there's a problem, and it's big. And it's not just going to be the canary in a few hours that's lying there dead. It's the whole, everybody in the mine, including you. So we've got to fix that.
So is our point here, we want to get appointments with all the poor people? No. What's our point?
The point is we want to get everyone wanting an appointment so that people with money are included in that group.
So when somebody tells you, Jeff, I didn't get a lot of appointments because people didn't have money, what do you say? I'm sorry, I didn't get a lot of appointments because none of the people in there had any money. What do you say?
That doesn't have anything to do with it. I guess that's the thing that somehow isn't being communicated. I think what Mike is apologizing for is I was told flat out that what you guys don't understand is there's a certain reality that's out there, and I know you don't want to believe this, but it's true. And I said, well, let me see if I can describe the reality that you're talking about. Your reality that you think that we don't understand is that everyone in the room has money. That there are no people that come to outside the box that don't have money. No, we understand that there are people that go to outside the box that don't have money. We understand that it could be a sizable part of the room. We get that. What we don't get is, why do they not want to make appointments along with anybody else? I mean, they should be lining up, and if they're not, then guess who else isn't? And so I'm not saying that you wanted appointments with them, but the fact that you can't get appointments with them, whether you want them or not, is troubling. It's a sign of a larger problem. That you're doing something in the workshop that people say, this guy's smart and we like him, but no, we don't want an appointment with him.
So guess what? The guys that get 80 to 100% appointment ratios, do they ever call you up and say none of these people had any money?
No.
It's only the guys that get 3 appointments that call you up.
Right. But some of them did.
Yeah. They say, hey, some of them didn't have money. Some of them had, 100 grand, and some of them had 800 grand. But the guys that make 80 to 100% appointment ratios, they never say none of the people in the room had money. It's always the people who make 3 appointments that say none of the people in the room had money. So guys, I want you to answer this. Why are the people that only get 3 appointments saying none of the people in the room had money? And they always preface it like this, don't they, Jim? They say, now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not pointing the finger at the audience. I'm just saying, because I'm going to take responsibility for what happened here. But none of the people had money in the room. That's why I didn't make any appointments. That's what, guys, when they say that. They tell me that they're taking personal responsibility, are they? If you take responsibility, then guess what? If you have something people want, how many people will make appointments? The only thing standing between these people and what they want is what? What's the only thing standing between these people and what they want? And we've just said everybody should want to do a power of attorney. Poor, rich, do-it-yourselfers, they're going to want to do a power of attorney. So if you don't get everybody in the room to make appointments, then there's only one thing standing between them and that, which is what? You. You. Does that make sense? So I'm sorry for getting wound up here, but we spent a long time on this yesterday, and we had about 4 calls last week that people still didn't get it. So does everybody get it now? Can I have a whole bunch of hallelujahs or amens or yeses? Does everybody get this now? Thank you. Let's not have to visit this again for a while, so I appreciate that. Now, I did create a referral letter that is now out there. Let me see, I might need your help. Oh, there it is. So it's on the 5Q members website, meeting process, new client, under the new client annual review section of the website, called client referral letter. And it says, hey, I hope this finds you well. Say I saw something and you came to mind. A friend of mine just walked me through a website, fullchecklist.org. It finds benefits for areas, so like Rochester residents born before 1956 are entitled to, but aren't aware they are owed. The average found benefits are $3,612. I didn't see how that could be the case, but lo and behold, my friend, this advisor, walked me through the software and sure enough found lots of benefits I didn't know I qualified for. I have a pretty good handle on all my affairs, but the things the advisor found with my full checklist are things that had never crossed my mind. What made me think of this, think of you as, guys, so you can see I'm a lot better off the cuff than I am reading actual script, is actually doing this full checklist free of charge right now and is looking for someone to walk you through actually before he actually starts charging for it. So my advisor is actually doing this full checklist free of charge right now and is looking for people to walk through it before he actually charges for it. I asked the advisor to give you a call. Please take this call. Obviously, there isn't anything in it for me since he isn't charging you for it, but I thought, hey, you could probably be open to finding a few bucks you're owed so you could spend them this spring, blah, blah, blah. So this is available. So this is what you'd give your clients in an annual review if they're willing to send it out to friends, neighbors, or relatives. That way they don't have to put themselves out there to be rejected. They just send a letter, and then it allows you to call and you be rejected instead of them calling and them being rejected. Does that make sense? So it's on the 5Q member site if you want it, under meeting process, new client annual review, client referral letter. Any questions on that? Booty. And then the last thing before we get into finishing the tape review from last week, please, please, please become members of as many of these organizations as you can. And you'll understand why here in probably the next couple of months, why it's necessary to do that, because of something that we're going to be doing for marketing. And you need to have these memberships. So Better Business Bureau, contact your local Better Business Bureau to do that. American Association of Retired Persons, National Ethics Association, Academy of Financial Services, Society of Financial Service Professionals, Financial Planning Association, American Society of Aging, National Council on Aging. At least get 2/3. So what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So at least get 6 of the 8. Get memberships with at least 6 of the 8. Okay. And if you wondering where you can locate these people, well, first of all, they're all here, but they're also under the is it contact, Missy, on the website? Contact and then resources.
Yes, I believe that is correct. I was just actually going to go look for them myself.
Is that the green button? Is contact?
Yes. Library resource. I'll get you the path by the time we get off the phone.
Okay. Okay. So, but please, 6 out of the 8 become members of these organizations. Okay. Greg's wondering if we'll email the path. No, we'll before we get off the call, Missy will just give us a path. Maybe you could create a well, you know what? I'll just go to the website. Duh.
Yep, I've actually already got it. So it's contacts, and then you just click on resources, scroll down to organizations, and all of them are listed right on the website underneath O for organizations.
So the question, are there special licenses needed for the memberships? None of them require special licenses. I think the only one, I mean, let's go back here. Financial Planning Association is run by the CFPs, but guess what? Do you think they're going to take your money to become a member of this? Darn right. So it's run by the CFP, but you can even if you're not a CFP, you can join that, I believe. Okay. So please, 6 out of these 8 become a member, and that's under the contact section of the green navigation bar of the website, and then resources, and then member organizations. So now we'll get back to that the reviewing a tape using that most important 15 daily. So we did all these last week, so we're going to start at 6:30. So if I can find it here. There we go.
I made $36,000.
Yeah. Was that from experience that you kind of called it? Like you said, oh man, we're up here. Is that kind of for your experience?
No.
Or?
So I'm going to back it up a bit because he missed an opportunity to really get on her side. She got excited about something, and instead he interrogated her and said, see, he has an open-ended question, but he would have been better off actually patting her on the back. So here we go.
See that? There's no possible way. I mean, I'm a dummy, but I know we can't
you kind
do
of called it
that.
then,
Yeah.
Huh?
So he talked over her. She says, I'm a dummy. He talked over
That
her.
was very, very scary. But, you know, the first year, I made $36,000.
Yeah. Was that from experience that you kind of called it? Like you said, oh man, we're up here. Is that kind of for your...
So she's saying, but you know, I did this. You know, people might have thought I was a dummy, but I did this and I made $30,000. So instead of patting her on the back, he wants to ask her a question to make her admit that that was pure luck. Guys, do we ever want to show a client that they're wrong or try to put a client in a corner like that about one of their decisions? So he would have been far better off patting her on the back. And I get what he's going, and I think I would have gone the same direction he did about the fact that, hey, that happening, making $30,000 because of the market going up, that's as much luck as anything else. But am I going to go there before I pat them on the back? Or after I pat them on the back a lot? After. After. Make sense?
No, that was not. But I mean...
So he made her admit what? No, that's not what happened. You know, so great. So now he was right. So he won the war or won the battle. But guess what? That kind of thing can help you lose the war. So she admitted that she was not a brilliant investor, but just so she's actually having to admit she's wrong right now, which is not what we want to do.
There's only so much money in your pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, how can there be more for crying out loud? And that was just too darn scary. I kept saying, this can't be a good thing. This cannot be a good thing. Yeah.
So what do you do there? What do you do there, guys? Did you hear what he did? Okay, I'm going to play it back a little bit. Thank you, Jerry. You talked over. Don't talk over. And we said that's the easiest thing. If I'm doing my 15-minute drill, that's the easiest drill, because what am I going to do for 15 minutes, guys? What will I do for 15 minutes? For my daily 15-minute drill. If I'm find a place that I've over-talked them, that's right, Terry, I'm going to replay it and shut up, and replay it and replay it and replay it until I become so sensitized to talking over somebody that I instantly know I'm doing it when I'm in a real conversation. So I don't even have to practice saying anything. I'm just going to listen to it and punish myself so I become ultra-sensitized to over-talking somebody so I don't do that anymore.
Unbelievable.
A quarter of my income.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that last time.
Yeah.
So that was good. You got on our side there. That was good.
Well, not of my income. It was a quarter of my total.
Well, that's even worse.
But here's the thing. She's talking about losing some money. So how easy is it for all of us to get excited and get on somebody's side when they're talking about losing money, when they're saying things that we want them to say? Yeah, it's easy. That's very easy. So yeah, he's doing this because he's going, oh great, she's saying what I want her to say, that she understands there's risk, she understands she can lose money, so I can get on her side about that all day long. So yeah, that's easy. So for those of you that tell me it's hard to get on somebody's side, no, it's easy when they're agreeing with you. It's just hard when they're saying things you don't like. But it should be just as easy with practice to do that.
Yeah, it was, because no matter what, I always hung around the 200,000.
Yeah.
I always hung around there. It was okay, up and down, up and down. As a matter of fact, I exceeded at one point, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give myself a bonus here.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a way to go. I'll just maintain it at 200, and
I wish you had the 200 now. This plan would be a piece of cake, honestly, for me to say something. But okay, so that's.
So she laughed there. Did he laugh, or did he talk over? So instead of laughing, he's talking over to make a point. That's not only so when you when you talk over somebody, not only when you don't laugh at it, but when you're talking over them, not laughing at their little joke, and pointing out they did something wrong. That's the trifecta of holy cow, don't do that.
Was one of your concerns, you'd like to pay less in taxes if possible, like to protect my family from the catastrophic cost of long-term care, which can kind of drain an account very quickly. I'd like more income, that'd be nice. I want to pass on as much as.
So what he did do there, though, is he got her back on track, but he did it without acknowledging her first. And if you try to get somebody back on track without acknowledging them first, do they like that or not like that? It means you have an agenda, and they don't like that.
Possible or children and heirs, that's kind of an area that's really, there's some interesting things to be done. I'd like to see increases in my investment portfolio, kind of the opposite of I don't want to see losses. You've got some things you've just done so well, I want to commend you on, and that's one of the things we find when we.
So there was a good gotch, right? And did you hear her say thank you? So she liked it.
Kind of look in the mirror or kind of investigate something. Having a will in place is really, really important. It's amazing.
I found that out when he died.
Isn't that incredible?
My husband passed away.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It's just, and we're kind of redoing the estate plan and the wills, and I can't tell you how many times my wife and I have procrastinated because of something that's come up.
This is a huge problem right here. This is a huge problem. Who was she talking about with the will? Who was she talking about with the will? Herself. That's right. Who was he talking about? Is that what we want to do? Do we ever want to use get into stories about ourselves? No, not because it's necessarily bad, but because it's a slippery slope. And by slippery slope, I mean that when we start talking about ourselves, guess what happens more and more? And I've heard tape after tape after tape, especially of very good salespeople who want to talk all about them and this thing that happened to them and blah, blah, blah. And they think that they're teaching through stories. No, what they're doing is preaching and teaching. All right, Kevin, they're preaching and teaching. And people don't care that much about our stories. Guess whose stories they care about? Their own. So instead of talking about, she gave him everything he wanted there, and instead of jumping on and patting her on the back about the experience and what she'd learned from it, he wanted to say what he was doing. So he stepped over an awesome opportunity, and now he's going down a slippery slope. Now, if we talk about ourselves once, that's not a huge deal. It's not going to be like the meeting's over, lost that deal. No. But it's a slippery slope, because if we talk about ourselves one time, guess what we're going to find ourselves doing more and more throughout the whole meeting? Talking about ourselves more. What is this meeting about, guys? What is this meeting about? What are the only two entities this meeting is about? Them and who else? Their advisor. Not us. Not us, not us, not us. Not about what happened to us, not about what we can do for them, not about what our clients think of us, not about how smart we are, not about us.
Yeah, I
finally last
agree.
night was like, let's go on a date.
Yeah, sit down and do it, yeah.
It's just a good accomplishment. Having the trust in place.
God on our side. That's a good accomplishment. That's good.
You've established a durable financial power of attorney, which is really important. You've got the medical power of attorney in place. That's another just kind of essential thing that we'll talk about a little bit today. It seems like you have sufficient income. I mean, I do meet people that are dying. You know, they're just like, I got to sell my home or whatever. They're not going to make it. And in your case, though there's concerns and tightness and things like that, I mean, you're the Social Security and the ace in the hole, I think you called it, the rental unit.
Yes, indeed.
So good, and that's one that's not going to show up on this list, but that having
So he's doing a good job. His tone is great, getting on our side here.
paid off a property.
Yeah.
High five, that's so good.
High five, that's so good. Pat on the back, that's awesome.
So I love that. Got a pretty good level of assets between the home and the IRA. Is it okay for me to just talk briefly?
So do you get what he's going through here? It's easy to get on their side here because he's going through all the things she did well. Why at the very beginning, so we're still at about 9 minutes in, why do we tell them about all the things they did well at the beginning of the 21-point checklist? This is our opportunity to deposit some of that positive energy in the bank. It's our opportunity to make sure that they know that we're not just about telling them how bad everything is. We're saying, hey, you've done a lot of great things here. In fact, you've done all the heavy lifting. If you hadn't done these things of getting good income, of having good assets, at this point, there's nothing I could have done for you. But because you did all the hard work, because you did all the heavy lifting, all the things I'm going to show you today are very simple and easy to fix. See, that's the message I want them to get here, and he's doing a good job of that.
Sure, please, yeah.
Between the home and the IRA and this home, there's like $350,000, $400,000 in assets plus some income stream coming in, which is just a really great thing. Now, when I was going through just piece by piece, doing just a super detailed financial inspection, if you've ever purchased a home, you've seen those guys do the home inspection where they've got the 4 little boxes, 300 things, and they're just saying, what would I want to know if it were me? Oh, cracked slab,
right.
Leaky roof, termites, right?
Yeah.
It's that. And so I've got a list here of areas of concern that, with your permission, I'd like to just go through one at a time and kind of help you understand them.
Awesome job. So now he's going into areas of concern. Before he went into going into areas of concern, what did he say? What phrase? It's here on the screen. What phrase did he say? With your permission. Yep, with your permission. Because we're about to say, hey, we're going to find some things that are wrong. Is it okay if I cover these things with you? And she said yes, so that's good.
So this first area, very near and dear to my heart, something I suggest for everybody that I end up working with. So if we're working together, we're gonna have one of these.
Okay.
It's something I suggest, and it's called a survivor's guide. Now, have you ever heard of that?
No.
So what happens in financial planning is that people like yourself, they spend money and get a trust, and they put all the
Have you ever heard of that? She said no. So now he's doing what we want to do, which is what? Tell, preach, teach. Is that what we want to do here, guys? She said no. She'd never heard of that. What do we want to do? What do we want to do? Fall on the sword, Kevin. Very good. That's great, guys. Fall on the sword. You're all getting it right. Fall on the sword. That's exactly right. Because we just want to say, yeah, I'd never heard of this either. I mean, I hadn't never heard of this until my father died, and then this was given to me, and then I thought, hey, this would be a great thing to give people. But until you have a situation like that, you won't know. So, the fact that you haven't heard about it, I haven't had really anybody in the last 10 people I've talked to that actually heard of it. Now, what we'll find out is it's actually a very good thing to happen. See, you got to fall on the sword. Okay?
Time into it. They procrastinate a few times, and they finally hunker down and do it, and they pay an attorney, and they title their document. They do all this work to make sure that when they're not there, that they're passing on, that their love is sort of extended, and they're treating the family the way they want, or their heirs or charities or whoever. That what they want to happen happens. When they actually pass away, though, how that actually comes to fruition is a different story.
too many times.
Haven't you seen it? I can't tell you how many times over the years learning all these different areas that I ask myself, but what happens when?
So what happened there? So I'm going to play it back again. Ugh, hard to get to the right place here. There we go.
And they're treating the family the way they want, or their heirs, or charities, or whoever. And what they want to happen happens. When they actually pass away, though, how that actually comes to fruition is a different story.
I've seen it too many times.
Haven't you seen it? I can't tell you how many times over the years learning.
Okay, so she said she hadn't seen it. And then again, he should have fallen on the sword there, or at least got on her side. Yeah, nobody really sees that. And that, yeah, the fact that, so instead, he's going to what? Tell, sell, preach, and teach to show how smart he is. Now, do you get it? I mean, this guy, how's his tone, guys? This guy's tone, is he friendly? Is he helpful? Or is he aggressive? Yeah, his tone is great. His tone is great. But do you see how doing one of these things wrong is going to hurt him? That's right, John. Yeah, it's friendly. So it's doing one of these things wrong going to hurt him? No. Doing two of these things wrong going to hurt him? No. Doing three of these things wrong going to hurt him? No. But do you see it? Like we talked about last week with an onion, we never know for what person and how sensitive they are, how many layers of the onion or how many wrong things before it's finally going to trip a trigger in their subconscious to say, I don't like this guy. Do you think they're going to have a conscious decision that he's always disagreeing with me, he's always correcting me, he never pats me on the back? Is it going to be a conscious thing that they're going to go to the car and think, I don't like this guy? Or are they just going to go to the car and say, I don't know why I don't like this guy, I just don't like this guy. I don't know why. I think we should just say where we're at. See, I want them to go to the car and say, I don't know why I like this guy, but he's awesome. He's way better than our guy. I love this guy. He gets us. He's on the same wavelength. See, the more you're good at GOTS, the more they have that mentality, and they never know why they like you. They just like you. But on the other hand, if you're constantly correcting them, not getting on their side, not falling on the sword, eventually, and again, everybody's a little different. Some people have skins as thick as rhinos. And that's where I tell you that even if you're not good at this, even if you're not good at the GOTS and asking questions, if you just do the 21-point checklist, you're going to get people because it shows that you care and it shows that you're different. So those people that even if you do everything wrong, those two things outweigh it, you'll still double your income. But if you want to get everybody, it's a different scale from somebody who has skin as thick as rhinos to skins paper thin. In order to get everybody from the thick rhino hides to the people with paper skins, you want to get as many of these things right as possible. But don't worry about getting one thing wrong. It's not going to kill you.
In all these different areas, I'd ask myself, but what happens when the person dies? Like, how do you find the trust?
So we asked a great open-ended question. Then what do you do? He did the right thing. He asked an open-ended question. He didn't know what I think when he asked it, so, what happens when people die? And he thought, well, that's way too open of a question. She might have to say, I don't know, or she could say all sorts of things. So he got in there with another question.
How do they know you had that piece of property in New Mexico? You see what I mean? Like,
Okay, so then he said, so how would they know you even have that piece of paper? Great question, and then great open-ended question, and then he immediately turned it into a what? I'm going to play that back. Because he asked an open-ended question, he found out was too open, then he asked a great open-ended question, but instead of leaving it there, what did he do? So I'm going to back it up a bit. Okay, here we go. So listen to him here, it's about 20 seconds. He'll ask an open-ended question that was too broad, he realized it, asked another great open-ended question, but then he immediately negates it by doing something. We'll see if you guys can catch up on it.
Is a different story.
I've seen it too many times.
Haven't you seen it? I can't tell you how many times over the years learning all these different areas I'd ask myself, but what happens when the person dies? Like, how do you find the trust? How do they know you had that piece of property in New Mexico? You see what I mean? Like,
So he asked three open-ended questions. Yeah, then he closed it, John. Then he asked the closed-ended question. So he asked one too vague open question, two great open-ended questions, and then instead of letting her answer the open-ended question, he said, see what I mean? And she said, yep. And what is a yep worth, guys? Nothing. We don't know if she sees. We don't know if even if she's agreeing, it doesn't mean anything because it's passive agreeing instead of active agreeing. Here we go.
As everything I see, I'm running through a grid of, I almost wish we could pretend, like, bang, you're dead.
Right.
What happened?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, they walk out, oh darn, sad.
Yeah.
Then what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We talked about this last week. He said, bang, who's dead? Yeah, she's dead. We don't want to do that, right, Sean? We don't, right, Bert? We don't want it to be her. Anything bad has to happen to who? Us or a third person, not the client. Don't say, bang, you're dead. And he did it in a fun way, so he did get by with it. And again, this is something that I make mistake of all the time. And you'll hear me telling a story where I'm using the client, and all of a sudden I'm like halfway through, and I immediately switch to myself. They don't really know that I've switched, but I've known, shoot, I don't want to be having bad things happen to them.
So this, if you see this big, giant...
I have to go back here because there's something else here. Okay, here we go.
Like, bang, you're dead.
Right.
What happened?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, they walk out, oh darn, sad.
Yeah.
Then what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Do you see he was asking question after question after question, and all he was getting was, yeah, the rhetorical, right, Bert? She was going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And guess what we think when a client's saying, yeah, yeah, yeah? And I hear this a lot, and I hear this a lot in tapes, where the client's saying, yeah, 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 and we think they're on board. We think they understand what we're saying. We think that they're getting us. Dude, yeah, yeah, yeah means nothing to me. I don't know, because yeah, yeah, yeah means I don't get what you're saying, but I don't want to look stupid. It means I see where you're going with this. I don't agree with you. Yeah, yeah, I see where you're going with this. They never finish that yeah. They say yeah, but then in their heads they finish, I see where you're going with this. You don't hear that. Or it could be yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you tell your son, be home at 10, what does he say? I'm going through this right now with my son, so I totally get this. When I say be home at 10, he says, yeah, yeah, I get it. What's he saying? Is he really getting it? Or is it in one ear and out the other? So instead I need to say, so what did I just say? Be home by 10. Yeah, 10:05 or 10? 10. So 10:01 or 10? 10. So I want him to actually say it. Now again, that isn't necessary right here, but it's a lesson on, he asked 3 rapid fire questions. She said, yeah, 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 and he thinks she's totally following him. I have no clue whether she's following him or not.
this, if you see this big, giant review I've done here, let me show you this piece. It's the survivor's guide.
Wow.
And what this is kind of the roadmap for the people that are left behind to say, here's how to put into effect and get the benefit from, in a peaceful way, all that I did for you. And without this, it's just amazing how, you say you've seen it several times, it's just not pretty or easy or comfortable, or sometimes people don't even find safety to security boxes, safety deposit boxes. They don't even find some of the assets, right? Or know how much some of the jewelry was.
Do we have any clue whether she's getting this? And if she is getting it, how is she getting it? Emotionally or intellectually? In her brain or in her heart or gut? Intellectually, right, John? In her brain, right, Jeannie? So guys, how many people will take action on a good idea? How many people will take action on a good idea? Very few, Jeannie. Very few, right, Jerry? None. Not many. They think, hey, that's a good idea. Then as soon as they walk across the threshold of your door, what happens to that good idea? Right, Fred, 5%. It's gone. So I ask when people first come on the system, one of the things that I ask them in my very first meeting is, because I have you watch the video on truth and consequences of all the 21 different things, and I say, what is the worst thing that can happen? What is the worst thing that can happen with a survivor's guide? So let me ask you a question, guys. What's the worst thing that can happen if you don't have a survivor's guide? And if they answer me, well, well, then your family won't know where the items are. Oh, your family will look for a safety deposit box. Is that really the worst thing? How many people are going to be that worried about not being able to find about not having? Yeah, it's an inconvenience not having all the affairs in order. Yeah, it's an inconvenience to be looking for things in the filing cabinet. But that's not That's right, Jonathan. It's family fighting. That's right, Mark. The family ripped apart. So I spend time telling the story about my wife's family, who are nice Norwegians, who are school teachers, both of which are characteristics of people who are non-aggressive, who are nice, get-along type of people, and the whole family falls apart over a $75 ring. There's fighting going on. It could have ripped the family apart if we hadn't stepped in. That's the story. That's turning that survivor's guide in from something that's a good idea to something I need right now. See, if it can cause emotional turmoil, they want it right now. If all it is a good idea to get your affairs in order, how many people really want to spend the time getting their affairs in order? Nobody. So that's not going to work. So what he's doing is telling, selling, preaching, teaching about this survivor's guide, and guess how much effect it's having on her? She's going, yep, yep, And when your teenage son is saying that, what do you know? Is he there with you, or is he somewhere in la la land? Is he on autopilot? So here we go.
Worth so they're going to hawk it or whatever. So things like, who's your financial planner? So important contacts, all the people that you've been working with. Guess what they have to do if you pass away in May? Next April, they have to do the final tax return.
Yeah.
How in the world?
So then he asked a great open-ended question, and then did what? He asked a great open-ended question, and then he did what? He answered himself, right, Kevin? He answered himself. So, guys, when you ask a great open-ended question, give them time to answer. That's the reason that they're great.
Can they do a final tax return without the tax guy, without the all that big long list he asks you to bring in? So it's kind of a way of making that.
What do you think her tone is, guys? Yeah, right. Yeah. I agree with you guys. I think she's bored. Yep.
Information about family, wills and safety deposit boxes. If you don't have a safety deposit box, you have to check off, I do not have a safety deposit box. And this comes from experience. Because we know a family where the heirs literally drove to every bank within a 100-mile radius because they thought there was one.
Yeah.
Never found it.
Yeah.
Never are going to have the satisfaction of knowing it wasn't there. I don't know what they thought was in it. Gold bullion.
So again, he's asking what? He's telling, selling, preaching, teaching, telling a story, but do we know whether this is helping her or not? Is she getting involved in the story, or just, again, saying yep, yep, yep?
Yeah.
Stock certificate.
The secret key.
Exactly, the secret key, the Da Vinci Code.
So she told a joke, he laughed at it. That was a good job. That was a good job.
What life insurance and annuities? There's an entire industry called orphaned insurance policies, where someone is due sometimes in millions and doesn't know.
But do you think right now she's getting the importance of the survivor's guide? Is she buying into the, boy, I need this document? Yeah, I don't think so either. No.
So all this stuff, just like a trust, is like, well, record it while you're alive.
Yeah.
So what this is, Kathy, is something that I have every client do, and we kind of look at it once a year, is it's something that you put somewhere they could find it, on a bureau, in a file, whatever. You know what I mean? Stored electronic, whatever it is, that tells them where's the trust, who are the people. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because you can't think anymore.
Yeah.
So that's something I suggest to everybody.
Okay, so that's the end of the survivor's guide. How do you end the survivor's guide? Hey, Missy, I need your help a second. Oh, I figured it out. So with a close-ended question. So do you see why this is important? Do you see why my clients do this? Yeah. So what did he get? All that work. So we actually spent about 7-8 minutes on the survivor's guide, and what did he get out of that? Well, he did look different. He did show that he cared. So that's, you know what? That's worth a lot, to look different and show that you care. Is that worth something, guys? By covering the survivor's guide, instead of talking about the money, he shows that he's different. By talking about the survivor's guide, instead of talking about the money, he's talking about things he doesn't get paid for. Does that show that he cares? So that's worth a lot. But it could have been worth a lot, what? More, if she really, really wanted it. Now, do you need to have 15 stories that get her in the heart or get her in the gut? No, one is sufficient. One is sufficient, but you got to have one of those stories. And with the Survivor's Guide, that really gets them to understand. You know, the one that I've been told, it wasn't even one I came up with. It was an actual story of one of the advisors. And maybe if you're on the call today, you can tell me who it was. I forget who it was. But the family cremated mom, and then about 2 weeks later found out mom said what? Don't cremate me. How do you think they felt? How do you think they felt? So, I mean, that's a great story. That is a great story to talk about. So let's keep moving on here.
We kind of have a little heads up on that.
Good.
Yeah, they know the bookshelf in there.
Wonderful.
And that's where everything, that's the first thing in the bookshelf. That's where you go, right?
Exactly. And this is the kind of thing that if you had one and I came into your life, you may not know what's going to happen, but you may list me on there. Because if something happened to you last week, right, they might even know where you stuff.
So she actually said a couple of things here. She actually discounted everything he said because, well, my kids know where all my stuff is, and they're in the, you know, they're in a folder right on top of the filing cabinet. So all that work, she basically told him what? Yeah, all that stuff you just told me, I'm not worried about that because I already got all that stuff. So first of all, missed opportunity is he should have really got on her side. He should have complimented her and tell her you wish all those the people he worked with had this, blah, blah, blah. But it also tells us what? Do you really think she has everything that we talk about in the Survivor's Guide in that folder? Not even close. So he didn't, all that work he put into it, didn't get anything. But you know what? It still would have been okay if she still didn't get it. It still showed that he cared. It still showed that he was different. But the one thing he should have done then, when she said she had all that material there, he should have what? Used that as an opportunity to agree with her, to parrot her, or to empower her, tell her she's above average. What should he have done? Tell her she's above average. Empower her, right, Jerry? Here we go. Oh, we're at the top of the hour. So was this helpful, guys? And y'all forgive me for getting on my soapbox here at the beginning of the call. But apparently we had a miscommunication last week, and that was my fault. So now hopefully everybody gets that. So appreciate all the hard work you guys have been doing. Do your 15 minutes daily. Review those tapes. If you do that, that means by the end of the week, you've gotten 5 times better. There's 5 things you fixed that will not happen again. Do it. Please, please do it. If you can't spend 15 minutes on yourself a day, I don't know. I don't know how seriously you're taking business. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll talk to you all, or Jeff will actually talk to you on Friday. Thanks, guys.